Madam President.
Senator from West Virginia.
Madam President, while we're getting set up here, I want to thank my fellow senator from Louisiana who just spoke about an issue of health savings accounts, flexible spending accounts. You know what always gets me about the pushback on something like this, when people are going to be able to make their own decisions and have the money go to them rather than an insurance company, for some reason the other side always underestimates the real intellect and the real thoughtful decision-making that go on in families every single day, no matter what your socioeconomic, how much money you make. They always underestimate the voter, and they're underestimating the ability of a family to make a decision about their own health care when they do that. So I congratulate him for his thoughtfulness, as always, and really common sense and really simplicity of what he's really saying. So if anybody's been outside today, and I know many of you are here working, unfortunately, it is an absolutely gorgeous day. Great day for football. Beautiful sun, not too hot, not too cold, gorgeous day. But for a lot of people, it's not a good day. A lot of people around this country are wondering when they're going to get to go back to work, when they're going to get paid, how they're going to feed their families, is their trip going to be canceled? All of this has been put on to the American people, and here we are again, day 39 of the Schumer shutdown. And what is there to show for it? Well, nothing, except a lot of pain on a beautiful day. The chart here, I'm going to put up here myself, is something that I think really hasn't been talked about enough, but it's really something we need to focus on because it shows the fairness of what's going on today. 13 times during the Biden-era presidency, we passed this exact same bill, extending government. Some of this, the VV, is by voice votes. I voted for every single one of these, and so did many of my colleagues. 13 times. And so I think you have to look at the contrast of we've well exceeded this 14 times and probably will again, where we're getting total obstruction from the other side. So families are anxious about their paychecks. Federal workers are not sure when they're going to go back. Capitol Police, the folks here, many of the folks in and around the D.C. area, and many West Virginians, because we have a lot of federal employees, don't know where their next paycheck's coming from. I'm really concerned about our SNAP recipients, about whether they'll be able to put food on the table. We have travelers stranded in airports all over this country, and our air traffic controllers, many of them, are pushed to the brink. They're not getting paid. They've got a lot of anxiety about that because they have so many obligations, like many families. They can't meet the obligations. Veterans are facing delays as well. You know what? The American people do not deserve this. They deserve a beautiful day in the fall, watching their favorite football team, if that's what they want to do, or watching their grandchildren play soccer, and not have all of this put on top of them. So instead of ending the shutdown, the Democrats have come forward with their so-called offer, which is a one-year extension of the Obamacare Act subsidies. Well, let me make clear, as my colleagues have, this offer is just absurd. We've been doing this for 39 days the government's been closed. 39 days. And yet this offer is supposed to be the bridge to the end. To me, that's just incredible. The plan is to give $26 billion handout to the insurance companies. Here's my second chart, which shows the revenues per day of insurance companies that do health insurance benefits through the exchange. I mean, it's not millions, it's hundreds of millions. And yet, the Democrats want to hand over another $26 billion. So who does it benefit? It benefits the wealthy. There's no fraud protections. It does nothing, absolutely nothing, to lower the cost of health care. And Dr. Cassidy made a compelling argument about that just previously. So while Americans are feeling the consequences of this shutdown, our colleagues' answer is to shovel $26 billion to the insurance companies. That's not compassion, that is fiscal insanity. So I had a conversation with my Democrat colleagues last night, and they said, well, you know, the insurance companies are saying that it's too late now for them to redo their insurance estimations because of what's going on. So or to make any adjustments, say if you want to bring the income down or you want to do no zero cost plans, it's too late. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, maybe that was the plan all along. Let's close the government for 39 days because now it's too late to make any adjustments. 39 days ago, with the government open, we could have been negotiating all of this. Our leader has sat there in the well every single day and offered to negotiate. The president has offered to negotiate. Many of us have, including me. Dr. Marshall here, Senator Marshall, has a plan that he's had in front of all of us. And yet we're now 39 days. So maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the plan. Let's hold it out for 39 days so the insurance companies can get their $39 billion. And let's not forget what these subsidies are from. They're out of the COVID era, from the health care that they created and proudly call Obamacare, which none of us voted for. And these bonuses were never meant to be permanent, never, or they could have attempted to make them permanent themselves. So they set them to expire this year, and the irony that they want to have them expire next year, right before an election, is not lost, I don't believe, on any of us. So instead of doing their job and simply reopening the government, this is not a hard exercise here. This is open the government. They want to make these temporary giveaways permanent. They want to double down on the failures of Obamacare. We're not even talking about the cost of health care, hardly. That whole argument is getting lost on this. A system that they have admitted on this floor, has not been working, and it has irrational demands. So these so-called premium subsidies, they don't lower the cost of health care. They simply shift the cost onto the taxpayer. And under the proposal, wealthy families, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars, would now qualify for taxpayer-funded health care. How many times have I sat on this floor and heard the argument from the other side that all we care about are millionaires and billionaires and eliminating taxes for them, when they themselves are putting $26 billion into the hands of very wealthy companies, but also individuals are able to take advantage of these. So how is that fair to a coal miner in Logan County, or a nurse in Mon County, or a teacher in Wheeling? It just plain is not. These West Virginians work hard every day. They pay their taxes. They expect government to live within its means. Well, not to say they expect government to be open. Isn't that kind of a given here? Government to be open and not hand out big bonuses to big insurers or the wealthy. So meanwhile, because of this shutdown, real people are paying the price. My state of West Virginia, not just thousands of families and people, hundreds of thousands of people are losing their SNAP, have lost their SNAP benefit, which they rely on every month. So when I think about that, what do I think about? I think about the young mother who's maybe a single mother with 2 kids, who's working hard every day but can't get insurance through their employer. They're working hard every day. She's got to be frantic, so concerned about how is she going to care for her kids. That is just an excruciating thought for any mother to have. Our seniors have the same thoughts. But these benefits are a risk because the Democrats won't do something simple like open the government. Our federal employees, our park rangers, our mine safety, my mine safeties, I've got a lot of coal mines. Mine safety inspectors are very thin right now, not doing a lot of their work. People who keep our communities safe, they are forced to wait, to wonder, and to worry. And it is a worry. Family, we're getting ready, we're leading up to Thanksgiving. People make plans in advance. They don't buy their ticket the day before they fly. They make plans in advance. In our family, Our kids are married, so one year we get Thanksgiving and one year we get Christmas. So we're making a plan a year in advance to when we're all going to get together and be able to share fun times with our families. But now we got long lines, we got canceled flights, and growing frustration. All this chaos and uncertainty is so avoidable. I mean, 39 days is shameful. Senate Republicans have made clear we are ready to negotiate. I mentioned that. The leader, many of us here, including myself, the president himself, we're ready to debate. We're ready to get into this. But we're not going to negotiate until the government is open. That is such a reasonable proposition. And they will not take yes for an answer. I thought the irony that the Democrat leader used Senator Thune's words. Senator Thune, every time he talks, he says, take yes for an answer. And he tried to turn it on it, and I'm turning it back to him. You guys take yes for an answer and see where we are. I've talked a lot about the financial costs that this shutdown has brought forth on the American people, but there is a not-so-hidden cost here, one that's harder to measure, and that's the uncertainty and the anxiety that this is bringing to families and businesses across the country. Not to even mention what the international thought must be. What is wrong with these people that they won't open the government? This has got to be what the international community is thinking every day. So the worry about where your next paycheck will come, when you'll be able to go back to work, when things get back to normal, when I can sit in the stands at my home football game and actually not have all these burdens on my mind. These costs can't quite be measured, but they are very, very real. So I have a hard time believing that my colleagues on the other side have truly grasped this impact. I don't know who they're talking to, but we're getting phone calls, personal conversations all day long talking about the cost of this shutdown. If they did grasp it, they wouldn't have dragged this out for 39 days. I've heard the news reports that some of them are feeling emboldened because of an election on Tuesday. So really? We're going to hold that young mother who's got those 2 kids, we're going to hold her hostage of whether she can feed her family because we have a political advantage? That is just a shameful thought in my opinion. But apparently, by their own words, it's real. You know what? There's no political advantage to a shutdown. I've been through so many of them. I've voted many times to reopen the government. There's no political advantage to having our government shut. So I'm also a member of the Appropriations Committee, and I have to say, after many years of stagnant, we've passed bills out of committee, including my bill to fund the Departments of Health, Education, and Labor. It is historically a very challenging bill to pass, but we passed it out of committee with bipartisan support. It's waiting here to be brought up to the floor. We passed 3 bipartisan bills through the full Senate, and hopefully we'll be able to vote on those shortly. Leader Thune has fulfilled a commitment to bring these bills to the floor with more to come. Because you know what? That's what legislating is all about. That's what legislators do. So one of the great frustrations to me in this whole process is that the members who supported these bills in committee and on the Senate floor now won't allow us to move forward on these bills. So today I urge my Democrat colleagues, stop with the gimmicks. Stop with the political advantage and the political theater. Stop holding the government and the American people hostage to a partisan wish list. West Virginians don't want political games. They want their government open. They want their benefits secure. They want their leaders focused on results. Let's reopen the government. Let's restore certainty and sanity. And then let's let the hard work of reforming our health care system in a way that lowers costs and empowers patients. Patients and families. We could have been doing this for 39 days, by the way, but we can't until the government reopens. That's what leadership looks like. That's what government looks like and governing, and that's what the American people deserve. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The senator from Kansas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have to tell anybody in this room that this is day 39 of a Democrat shutdown. Day 39. You know, a real common question I get is, who's winning? Are the Republicans winning? Are the Democrats winning? Mr. President, I would tell you no one wins when there's a government shutdown, and especially when it goes on this long, and it's certainly not the American people. My heart goes out with empathy to those folks that have not received a paycheck since October the 1st. Hardworking Americans, I especially feel for our TSA workers, our air traffic control workers, all those people that are out there keeping us safe, our Capitol Police, all these folks that are involved in the safety, the day-to-day safety of Americans. Thank you for continuing to work without being paid. It's interesting to me to understand why the Democrats have shut the government down. And you can blame whoever you want to, but I think it's an 80-20 issue that Americans don't think it's right to shut down the government, holding everybody hostage over these Biden-Obamacare bonuses. $35 billion a year. That's what they're holding the government up over. These $35 billion a year, these enhanced Biden-Obamacare bonuses. That's 0.5% of the federal budget that we're keeping everything else under wraps for. $35 billion that's being given, by the way, to insurance companies. Another subsidy to insurance companies. Overall, Obamacare actually cost the federal government closer to $150 billion a year. That's right, we're spending about $150 billion of your tax-earned dollars supplementing other people's health care. It was interesting when they sold this to the American people, they said it would cost $40 or $50 billion, but we're already triple of that. That's what the American taxpayers are paying. That's $400 million a day. That's right, we're giving insurance companies $400 million a day of stipends from the ACA, from Obamacare, taxpayer money, $40 million a day. If you look at this Obamacare overall, by the way, there's about $25 billion of fraud, and we're going to get into that in a second. And again, there's $35 billion of these Biden-Obamacare bonuses, and overall it's a $150 billion a year project. These dollars are funneled straight into the coffers of big insurance cartels through Obamacare subsidies. All the while, they deny claims. Think about what insurance companies are doing today. Through prior authorization and other issues, they're able to deny claims, to jack up costs for everyday families, sending many into bankruptcy. All the while, they're boosting their profits, driving up their stock value. Now, what do you mean, driving up stock values? There's driving up stocks and there's driving up stocks. And I think we take a look at this one chart here, and I believe that President Trump put this on Truth Social today as well. United, this is since Obamacare was enacted. United Healthcare Group is now up almost 1,200%. This is their stock price, 1,200%. Cigna's at 800%. I know you're feeling sorry for Humana at only 500%. Molina here at 859% as well. So certainly we understand that these insurance companies have profited from these direct subsidies from Obamacare going into their bank accounts. But what's important is these subsidies aren't really helping the little guy. It's corporate welfare on steroids that boost the profits of giants like United Healthcare, which pocketed over $14 billion in earnings last year alone, laughing all the way to the bank on the backs of struggling taxpayers. $14 billion in earnings. Don't feel sorry for them that they're not going to get this $35 billion a year subsidy. The big winner of Obamacare has always been and will always be large health insurance companies. They and the lobbyists who helped write Obamacare. I want to remind everyone, though, that the ACA ended up being not so affordable as well. Premiums are up over 200%, sometimes 400% since its conception. And we're expecting another spike of 25% increase in premiums. Regardless what Congress does or doesn't do with Obamacare, the premiums are going to go up 25%. And for the most part, the government stands to pay for that entire increase. The way Obamacare is set up, you pay a percentage of your income. So if the insurance rates, if the premiums go up 10%, 20%, 100%, the government is going to subsidize and take care of all that increase. And that's one reason why the insurance companies wrote Obamacare this way. There's basically no recourse. They know whatever they make the premium, that the government's going to pay it. That's why it's not working. And what else? Obamacare, like Medicaid, is not meaningful health care. With an average deductible of $5,000, that's not meaningful access to health care. Obamacare is an abstract failure. It's expensive, it doesn't work, it doesn't give you access. I think everything I've said so far is undeniable, it's unarguable, it's factual. But I want to turn now is to think about goals. Goals that Republicans, Democrats, Americans would have when it comes to health care. Republicans want every American to have meaningful, affordable access to health care. And a $5,000 deductible for people at 200 or 300% of poverty level, frankly, does not give you meaningful access to health care. I want to turn to talk about fraud just a little bit more. Get this, 35 to 40% of Obamacare recipients that are enrolled in Obamacare never file a claim. Let me say that again. There's 24 million people on Obamacare. 35, 40% of those people never file a claim. These are ghost people. They don't even know they're on Obamacare. They've been falsely enrolled in Obamacare. Now, some people would say, "Oh, but there's always some people that don't file a claim." It's usually more like 10%. More like 10% of people in a pool of insurance products are not filing the claim. In this case, it's 35 to 40%. And overall, I think we could say that this group of people in Obamacare is a high-risk group. Big cities like Chicago have pushed people that took early retirement, have pushed them onto Obamacare. These are typically sick people that have been pushed off other plans and they went towards Obamacare. And trust me, I want to address that. That's why we need a high-risk pool that would address those types of folks as well. But the point here is that some 10 million people on Obamacare are not using it, but the federal government is getting the entire premium paid. The insurance companies are getting the entire premium paid by the federal government. So 10 million people, a premium every month. It's like a slot machine going to big insurance companies. So what's the solution? Instead of giving money to insurance companies, let's give it to the American people. Let me say that again. Instead of giving money to the insurance companies, let's give it to hardworking Americans. What a novel idea. Let's turn patients into consumers once again by funding some type of a HSA or a flexible spending account. Call it what you want to. But instead of giving the insurance companies dollars, these premium dollars, let's give that money to hardworking Americans. I did miss one point I wanted to make when it comes to fraud, Mr. President. In addition to address those people that are not that are ghost, there's ways to fix that. Real simple ones. Number one is to have some type of meaningful ID. Right now, basically, you could give an insurance peddler out there just your name and your birth date, and they can enroll you. They need to go through the same type of regimen that it would take, say, to enroll for Medicare. There's biometrics that we can use as well. But in addition to that, all we would have to do is have a monthly payment. And I understand, it doesn't have to be a lot. You're at 150% of poverty level, you don't have a lot of money. But if there's a there's a $20 payment coming out of your Apple Pay card once a month, you would see that every month. And if you didn't know you were enrolled in something, it would force you to call this company and say, "Hey, I didn't sign up for this." And we need the highest enforcement levels when people are frauding the federal government like this as well. So let me return now to our flexible spending accounts, our HSAs. Right now, there's about $12 billion every year we're spending on cost share reductions. CSRs, as they're called up here. So we're spending about $12 billion a year on these cost sharing reductions. In addition to that, there's another $35 billion we've been spending on these Obamacare enhanced bonuses, if you will. So our belief is we took both those fundings, the $12 and the $35 billion, and put it into on an HSA card, no different than we do with food stamps or all the other federal programs, and use that money then for your out-of-pocket expenses. Couldn't use it on premiums. That would not make any sense. You would use it for your out-of-pockets, your deductibles, your co-pays. And that would allow you to purchase just start driving insurance premiums down by picking a product that you know that you have some money in your own bank account, so to speak, to take care of those out-of-pocket expenses. So eventually, as this group of people become consumers again, and they become a better consumer out there, comparing the price of one hospital to another, or a surgery center to a hospital, or a doctor's office versus another's doctor's office, making those choices themselves, they're going to drive the cost of health care down. And I want to remind everybody, we wouldn't touch the original subsidies. So the original ACA subsidies, again, this is pre-Joe Biden, those would remain in place. So don't feel sorry. The insurance companies are still going to get $100 billion a year of these subsidies from the original ACA plan. We're just taking these new enhanced subsidies, these Biden bonus money and the CSR money, and putting those into some type of a HSA account. There's lots of other things we could do as well, Mr. President, to help drive the true cost of health care down. We've talked a lot about a price tags bill, letting patients become consumers and letting them shop, so forcing hospitals and surgery centers and imaging centers and all other health care providers to provide a price tag along with some type of quality outcomes as well. We need to end silver loading. We need to expand options. I hope that we could let people choose association healthcare plans or ministry plans as well. There's many, many things we could do to impact the cost of prescription drugs for this group of people as well. I'll start winding it down here and just say, enough with the lies. The so-called affordable care, the big insurance company cartels have formed a monopoly that control premiums, with the federal government acting as their personal ATM, dishing out billions in enhanced subsidies that only inflate their executive bonuses and shareholder dividends while leaving millions without meaningful access to health care. It's time we demand an end to this rigged system where insurance BMS rake in tens of billions of dollars in revenue, yet rely on some $150 billion in yearly government handouts under the ACA, turning public health into a private profit machine at our expense. Our carrot and stick approach uses federally funded FSAs, HSAs to encourage mindful spending and reward efficient users by converting a portion of their savings into a retirement account eventually. All of this fosters consumerism. If you think about the ACA, we're spending $6,500 a year of federal dollars per each patient, $6,500 per year per patient. We're not spending any more than that on Medicaid. And then the states are putting their money on top. We might as well move these patients into Medicaid as continuing to subsidize these insurance companies. It makes no sense to anybody up here, but yet we continue to throw good money after bad money. In this case, we're keeping the federal government closed because of this insane program. And maybe it's just pride. Maybe it's just pride of my friends across the aisle that they won't admit that the ACA, the Unaffordable Care Act, Obamacare, was a failure. It destroys competition, it destroys consumerism. Overregulation always leads to consolidation of industry. We've seen it with insurance companies, with hospitals. We're seeing it now with doctors' practices even. It's going to be hard to fix this overnight. This has been the law of the land for 15 years. But everything where we are today, the reason that rural hospitals are going broke, the reason that we have $5,000 deductibles, the reason that premiums are going up 25%, it's because of the Obamacare rules. Again, the insurance companies wrote Obamacare. Their lobbyists, big hospital systems, they're the ones that wrote Obamacare. And here we are. They've been on the gravy train now for over a decade. $150 billion a year for these 24 million people. Mr. President, I want to open the government. But I can't be forced to throw good money after bad money. So many of us want to fix health care. That's why I came here. Fixing health care, it won't be easy. It's 18% of our GDP. But there are fixes out there. It'll take a bipartisan effort. It's going to take months and not weeks and not days to fix it. And all I can do is, I've outlined a plan here. If my friends across the aisle would embrace just two simple concepts of dealing with fraud, and instead of giving money to big insurance companies, that we give it to hardworking Americans, I think that's the framing two pieces of a very good health care package, a very good bipartisan health care package. So I'm asking you to come across the aisle, to shake our hands, say, yes, let's get to work on that. But in the meanwhile, we need to get government opened. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.